Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. Look at that weather. Just like the specter of God hanging above us and giving us that sense of foreboding that a disaster could come at any time. And strangely, that's what we're going to talk about today, because we haven't upset anybody in a little bit. Just time to read from the Bible. And a section that confuses quite a few people. Just for the record, I'm not a King James fan. I like the New Revised Standard Version too. You want to know why I like the difference? Not because the King James Version isn't a good Bible, and it's poetic, and it has a beautiful rhythm and style to it. I just prefer the accuracy of the NRSV too. I also like the fact it has interpretations at the bottom and is willing to say, we don't know what this word means. Honesty counts to me. But we're going to explore the sin of onanism. For those of you who don't know, that would be pleasuring yourself. A lot of people make a big deal out of this. And even though in 2020, in the secular area, it's not considered so bad, there's still some idea that it's dirty and wrong. And it's left over not just from the Bible, but cultures have this whole idea that bodily fluids of all sorts will make you unclean. And the Jewish people were very particular about trying to keep themselves ritually clean. So body fluids are icky. You don't want them. You need to wash properly and bathe, and that's what makes you clean again. That's why they have the kosher laws, so that their bodies can be kept clean. The kosher laws actually come from very practical considerations. You see, cows eat grass. Goats eat grass. Pigs eat pretty much the same thing as humans, and they like to root around and find things they're not supposed to eat. So from a survival perspective, it makes absolute sense not to keep pigs around when you could be having goats that are essentially walking lawnmowers. Yes, they aren't perfect walking lawnmowers, and they need more care than that. But those rules make a lot of sense when it comes down to it. But back to our sin of the week, onanism, or you might know it, masturbation. Where does the whole thing behind it come from? And I'm going to edit this down because Genesis chapter 38 is a mess. The quote that we're going to be interested in is Genesis chapter 38, paragraph 6. Judah, yes, the one who all Jews are named after, got a wife for Er, his firstborn. Her name was Tamar. But Er, Judah's firstborn, was displeasing to the Lord, and the Lord took his life. So whatever Er did, he pissed off God. We don't know what it is, but the family's already under watch. Then Judah said to Onan, "Join with your brother's wife and do your duty by her as a brother-in-law and provide offspring for your brother." Now, this is an actually very significant portion of the ancient world. A brother who would live with another brother would join with his brother's widow, and the first child would count as the brother's child. There's actually Deuteronomy 26. Where are we going to do? Deuteronomy chapter 25, verse 5. Don't have my glasses on, I apologize. When brothers dwell together and one of them dies, leaves no son, the wife of the deceased shall not be married to a stranger outside the family, her husband's brother, shall unite with her and take her as his wife and perform the levir's duty. The first son that she bears shall be accounted to the dead brother, that his name may not be blotted out in Israel. So that's a levir's duty. You take your brother, and the first male child will go on to represent them. There's caveats. You don't have to do it. It's complicated. There is just a wall of text in here that would make a lawyer choke in frustration. But basically, that's the idea. So we go back to Judah, who has decided that Onan is going to marry, what's her name? Tamar. I wanted to make sure that I got it right. So then Judah said to Onan, join with your brother's life, and do your duty by her as a brother-in-law, and provide offspring for your brother. Again, here we have the levir. Now, this is chapter 38, paragraph 9. I always want to call them sections. This is where this whole modern Puritanism comes from. But Onan, knowing the seed would not count as his, let it go to waste whenever he joined with his brother's life, so as not to provide offspring for his brother. And what he did was displeasing to the Lord, and he took his life also. Now, did you notice the whole paragraph? Onan, knowing that his seed would not count as his, let it go to waste whenever he joined with his brother's wife. He was interested in the whole having this woman to fornicate with, but he wasn't interested in the idea of having kids with her. And that's where this whole idea of spilling your seed when it is not necessary comes from. It doesn't say that. This is the duty of the levir. The reason God got pissed off with Onan was because Onan was not fulfilling his sworn duty according to the rules of the people. Not because he was having a good time. And also, the Bible is notorious for using allegory. We know the elder brother, Er, somehow pissed off God. We don't know what Er did, but we know Onan, one of his crimes, was not performing his duty as a levir, continuing his brother's legacy. So the both of them were struck down by God. Now, most people are just going to read that one single sentence about Onan letting his seed go to waste, skip. Then the Lord took his life also. And if you see how many words we have to skip over to get to there, this is the biggest problem with the Bible. People don't read the whole thing. The quote from Deuteronomy 25, they don't read that part, which explains the duties of a levir. They just read what they want to in Genesis 38. Like I said, paragraph 9, they're going to read the first part and the last part and ignore anything that doesn't suit their political agenda. It doesn't say anywhere in this entire thing that masturbation specifically is illegal. Now, while it might be distasteful, I mean, consider that the time that you're living in, there's no good way to put this, but you're basically wandering around in not so hygienic garments, and things are going to get disgusting pretty quick. That's why the Bible is telling you, hey, whenever you come into contact with bodily fluids, it is essential that you purify yourself, which means you take a bath. The Jewish people call it a mikveh. And indeed, this whole idea of purity has continued to the modern day. The whole burning of incense whenever a pope goes anywhere, or a Roman Catholic Roman Catholic, a Orthodox Christian goes anywhere is precisely so that they can keep themselves clean. Because, as the old adage goes, cleanliness is next to godliness. But people don't want to hear that. I want to get further into this at some point because there's a lot of things that people don't know about the Bible. They just quote it at you mercilessly. They're going to come at you, Genesis 38 says this. Yet read the whole sentence. Read that whole paragraph. It's only one line long. It's not that hard, but people skip out on what it is. And they don't understand the context. Because here's the funny part. After all this nonsense between and Onan and Tamar, Judah sees her by the road a couple years later and hires her as a prostitute, and then tries to put her to death, but she ultimately shows that he had given her a symbol so that she could redeem it, and that way she would be able to get whatever her payment was, a goat, whatever the heck it was. And when she shows him that, he realizes he was the one in the wrong. And then he accepts her back and, happily family. But this whole chapter is messed up. How do you even get on top of that? And Judah was never punished. No. Judah was one of the ones that went on to produce David and Solomon and many of the characters, including Jesus, that we know and love today. So it's interesting how people will skip an entire chapter of the Bible just to zero in on the one line. It is my intention at some point to get into Leviticus, because this is one of the most misunderstood books in the entire Bible. And you know what? Probably doesn't apply to you. But there you go. Just one quick chapter. I didn't even read the whole chapter. One quick line. And people for generations have been about, you should not commit masturbation. That's not what it says. Not in the least. That's how it's interpreted. But we can agree to have different interpretations over things. That's the Bible. It's confusing, but that's the beauty of it. You have to study it because you're going to run into people who want to quote the Bible at you. And your best defense is to know it better than they know it. Reading it, again, King James Version, beautiful, poetic, but written in that 17th century language. It's like Shakespeare. It's all tongue twisters and words we don't use anymore. And the language has evolved far beyond what it was supposed to be. In the NRSV 2, there's no these and thous and stuff like that. It's, do not marry a woman as a rival to her sister and uncover her nakedness in the other's lifetime. Pretty straightforward, the NRSV. Whereas King James, thou shalt not perform this. I don't have the KJV in front of me and I don't want to insult it. So there you go. It's important to read your Bible. It's more important to understand what you read. And it's most important to know when someone is lying to you. Because people will do that. It's not a sin to commit masturbation. It's a sin to accept the duty of the levir and then fail to produce any children. And also whatever the hell else these two guys did. Onan and apparently were pretty bad dudes. So, that's your Bible lesson for today, everybody. I hope you found it interesting. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Silverlight Show. If you did, please hit like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to buy the books, because my nonfiction books are somewhat similar to this. I find interesting things about places and events. And my fiction books, hey, imagine all the stuff that I can come up with. It's just after Christmas. Everyone's getting their lives back on track, and hopefully we can start getting out of this Omicron stuff soon. But thank you for listening. We hope you like, share, and subscribe, and we absolutely wish everybody a fantastic day.